Dr. Faria Bukhari. Today I'm going to talk about the crazy systemic racism that's permeated the entire global economic system, the infrastructure, the hierarchy, the patriarchy, the oligarchy, just name it. We have been ruled by the white supremacists for the last almost 2 centuries. And this whole white supremacy has already infiltrated the highest offices in various governments of the world. They have already permeated and infiltrated into law enforcement agencies, into the highest courts and judicial houses of the world, into the most respectable humanitarian platforms of the world, into the US Congress, into the Canadian Congress, Parliament, into the UK Parliament, into the European Parliament. We have global leaders endorsing white supremacy for a while now, and they are not going to say it, but they're going to prove it with the actions. And as you can see, Macron, Emmanuel, he's a certified white supremacist. His actions are proving that he's already alleged he's pledged his allegiance to this cult, and he believes in the supremacy of the white race above all other races. And if you notice why they have been so successful in the last 1.5 or 2 centuries, is primarily because they're united. Wherever they are, they're united. They have a thick network. It's like a beehive. So you have like one queen that's basically directing all the other bees, the swarms of literally bees that are all over the world spread. This thick network matrix of white supremacy is dedicated day and night to ensure the persistent supremacy of the white race over all other races. This is why what you see in Africa is deplorable. How they have plundered the resources since the time of Winston Churchill, even before that, since the whole colonization and the whole colonialism, the whole occupation process and imperialism process of the British government started. The French government started, the Portuguese, the Spanish, they all invaded, decimated, occupied various lands and territories, and slaughtered the indigenous people in the name of supremacy of the white race, that if you're a white, you have the right to kill other people, invade their lands, plunder their resources, slaughter them, and use them in a state worse than your cattle. So you are expendable. If you're not white, you're expendable. You can be disposed of like a tissue paper. And so this kind of behavior the world has been tolerating for the last couple of centuries, coming from the highest offices of the Western governments, coming from their legal departments, coming from their courts, coming from their parliaments, their Congress. And this is not going to stop unless we all unite. So all the races, other than I won't even say that if you're a white, you shouldn't be involved in this, because I know there's so many white people, Caucasians, who are as upset as the other races and want to contend the white supremacy cult. So I'm not going to say that you have to be a non-white to be part of this united forum, but it is very, very important that we all unite. We are not united, unfortunately. Look what's going on in Venezuela. Look what's going on in the Arab countries. Look what's going on in the African countries. Look what's going on in the Southeast Asian countries. We are not united, but they are really united, and they are organized, they're disciplined, they have goals already set up, and they are achieving their goals day and night. And they are doing it at the expense of our resources, at the expense of our lives, at the expense of our future, the future of our children. Look at Venezuela as a classic example. It's the most oil-rich country. It was supposed to be the jewel of the crown of the South American nations. And look at what's going on to Venezuela today. Venezuela is a victim of white supremacy. Most of the Middle Eastern nations who have been hit hard by terrorism and then the war against terrorism, the Arab nations, including Yemen, including Iraq, including Libya, and including Syria. They have all been a victim of white supremacy. Look at what's going on in the Southeast Asian countries. Look at what's going on in Pakistan. Look at what's going on in Afghanistan. How the Persian territory, Iran, look at what's going on with them. And then coming to the Asian nations, including China, including Indonesia, including Malaysia. Malaysia got a regime change because they didn't like Mahathir. So they are controlling the entire world. The white supremacists have everybody in their clutches. Why? Because we are not united. I mean, it is deplorable to see that Japan is willing to cooperate with the white supremacists against the Asian countries, including China and including Pakistan. I know Japanese people. They have the highest standards of ethics and morality. And literally, they are such a beautiful nation. And it is so hard to believe that a country that was actually nuked by white supremacists is willing to cooperate with them today. This is a proof that after World War II, the white supremacists colonized, occupied Japan. And today they have Japan in their control. Same thing Vietnam. After the Vietnamese War, we thought that Vietnam won the war, but the reality is this: no, it did not win the war because it is right now under complete control of the white supremacists. And they are getting their way. And they are able to do that because we are not uniting. And it is imperative for all of us, including the African nations, including the Asian nations, including the Arab nations, including all the Latino nations, that we must unite. We must unite and form this coalition against white supremacy. They are united. They are very strong. They are very powerful because they are united, because they are organized, because they are disciplined, because they have a certain charter they stick to and adhere to. They have certain goals, and they're working day and night to achieve those goals at the expense of our lives. They are willing to go to any length, to the point that they would even finance, sponsor terrorist groups, destroy and destabilize our nations. But what are we doing? We are just talking. We are just complaining. We are just nagging. We are not uniting. We have to unite now. I want all the South American countries to unite. I want all the African countries to unite. I want all the Asian countries to unite, even the ones who are in the forum of in the block of the white supremacy right now, including Japan, including Philippines, including Vietnam. I want everybody to unite. And I want the Arab nations to unite. So we are looking at these four major blocks: Latinos, Africans, Asians, Arabs. In Asians, we include Pakistanis, we include Afghans, we can even include Iranians, even though they're Persians, but they're not Arabs, they're in this territory. And we include China, and we will try to include Japan and all the Asian nations, because we've all been a victim of white supremacy. And we have to make sure that we no longer conform to their ideologies, conform to their agenda, and become their slaves. I know I listen to the debates of African nations leaders, and I know now they have this awareness of what white supremacy did to their nations all these years. And I know they are willing to revolt, and they're already revolting. Some of them are doing an amazing job. I'll cite the example of the leadership of Ghana. They have done an amazing job. They confronted the Swiss government and said, no, we are not gonna export all our cocoa to you anymore. We're gonna make our own chocolate in Ghana and we're gonna sell it. So they are already confronting the white supremacists. We have to do a better job. We have to get united. We have to have military strategic alliances like the white supremacists do. Right now, the white supremacists have their fingers on the nukes of United States, on the space weapons of United States, on the biological labs that are scattered all over the world, on the military bases of US scattered all over the world. So they are very powerful. They are very powerful and strong, but we can be more powerful because we outnumber them by billions. And we can be more powerful than them if we choose to unite today. So this is my call to all the Latino countries, to all the Asian countries, to all the Arab nations, to all the African diaspora and the African nations. Please, let's come on one single platform and wage a response, a defensive response to the aggression that has been imposed upon the non-white communities of the world. Let's share our economic goals. Let's share our military goals. Let's share our strategic goals. Let's be one. Let's be one united forum, regardless of our nationality, regardless of our religion. The religion of humanity exists amongst all of us, and it is the need of the hour. They are very powerful, and they have divided us on purpose because they know if we divide, we're going to lose, like we have over the last couple of centuries. It's about time that we unite, and I welcome those white Caucasian men, women, children, elderly, who are fed up of white supremacy, who wish to fight against it, to come and join us in this war against white supremacy. This century cannot be allowed to be ruled by white supremacy. This century has to be the century of the Latino people. This has to be the century of the Arabs. This has to be the century of the African people. This has to be the century of the Asian people. This has to be the century of all those races that have been victimized by the white supremacy in the last many centuries. If we are not going to do this, if you're not going to have an agenda, if you're not going to have a plan, if you're not going to have a united platform, and if you're going to continue to keep grudges against each other on the basis of religion, on the basis of nationality, on the basis of economic grudges, which is what they want, then they're going to keep on winning against us. And we cannot let them continue to win against us anymore. We outnumber them, we outsmart them. The only hiccup we have is that we are not united. And I call out to all the leading global leaders from all over the world, the Latinos, the Arabs, the Asians, and the Africans. We are rich. We are all rich nations. We've all been given extraordinary amount of resources. And it's about time we claimed our copyrights to what we own instead of handing our resources to white supremacists in a plate. We have to stop getting blackmailed, but we can only do that if we stand with each other, if we hold hands, and if they know that yes, behind Indonesia, there is China backing it up. Behind Philippines, there is Pakistan. So if something was intended, a harm was intended for any of the smaller nations, they would know that they cannot do that because we are not talking about one nation anymore. We are talking about 150 nations now. that are now united to counter the the propaganda, the negativity, and the war, the terrorism, the economic terrorism of white supremacy. We have to tell them that we are not alone anymore. We are not going to allow you to make us your victim anymore. We are strong, we are united. And you may think we are poor, but we are not poor anymore because now we are together. Now we can fight and fend for ourselves. We are not going to let you use us anymore, abuse us anymore like a tissue paper, like a toilet paper. This has to be done now. This has to be done urgently, right now, this moment, if we want to survive the oncoming onslaught that they have planned for us. Look at this COVID pandemic. Who has suffered the most? Who is suffering the most? The economy. I mean, people are committing suicide because of the economic terrorism that has been committed under the disguise of this biological bio weapon war. And if we do not do something right now, they have their fingers on the biological labs of US all over the world. They have their fingers. They have their fingers on the satellites of US. They have the fingers. They have their fingers on the space weapons of US, not just US but European as well. So it's high time that we form a united platform where we're all united, where we share our economic goals, we share our military strategic goals, and we wage a defensive strategic response against white supremacy. Bye bye.